Dustin Poirier said one of the things that happened in his fight with Conor is he wasn't feeling the allure of Conor. He was just fighting another man. And I imagine you could look at that, and without a crowd, by example, without the Irish flying in and waving the flags and chanting Conor's name and booing you and all of the things that Dustin had to go through in the first time, I would imagine where you could see that there's a level of truth to that. But I'm calling BS. You guys ever read a business book in your whole life? By a guy who rags to riches, who went on and he's worth millions of dollars and he runs a company. But okay, you just read fiction. No matter how much that guy would swear on a stack of Bibles, this is exactly how it happens. Every successful business guy that goes and writes a book rewrites history. And it always comes into something of everybody was saying I couldn't do it, but I knew if, which is all a lie. None of those things happened, and the guy knew nothing. Now, sure, he took some risk, and sure, he went for it, and sure, he deserves a pat on the back, and sure, he put himself in a situation. He knew nothing. No business book ever written by the guy that did it, and he talks about, I knew, and I believed, and I had this, that's all rewritten. And as I look at Dustin saying he was fighting an allure, I think he's rewriting history. And by the way, before you, Chael, how dare you pick on Dustin Poirier? Dustin can take it, okay? Dustin has just proved that he's the baddest dude in the world. Oh, by the way, at the hardest weight class in the world. 6 billion men out there, Dustin can beat them all, apparently. He can take a little bit of this, but I'm calling BS. I mean, look, Dustin kissed Conor's ass all week. He didn't stand up to Conor one damn time. He didn't stand up to him in a press conference. He didn't stand. When Conor gets on his knees, Dustin gets on his knees. Conor says something nice to Dustin. Dustin says something nice back. Conor led this dance. Conor big brothered Dustin the whole time, to the fact that when they were in the ring, Conor starts talking to him, and Dustin, for the first time in his career, talks back. Conor controlled everything in this fight. And it's a very nice thing to say, and it's a very real thing from the world of amateur wrestling. That's called reading a bracket. Your coaches will tell you, don't read the bracket, and they will update the bracket all day long through a tournament. Everybody and everybody's dad runs over and runs and tries to see who they have next. But the bigger question that the good coach in the room will say, what's the difference? If it's a guy you think you're better than, do you plan to wrestle less hard? If it's a guy that you think you're going to have problems with, do you plan to try more? What's the difference? Don't read the bracket. Warm up the same. Bring your skills, take your t-shirt off, pull your straps up, and go as hard as you can during the time limit in a sport that has a score differential, meaning try to have more points than he does before time runs out. Same way every game on earth is played. More points than the other guy when time runs out. So it's a very good mindset for an athlete. It's a very rare mindset, as simple as it sounds. Who you're facing always affects you, whether you want it to or not. The skills and the tools that he brings could affect your strategy. So there is a reason to know who you're going to go and face. There is a planning and a preparation. There is some very logical reasons. But for Dustin to say that he didn't feel the allure, that's rewrite. He sure as hell felt it at the press conference when he's handing him a thing of barbecue sauce. He sure felt it on social media when he was taking a $500,000 check to his charity. He sure felt it in the ring when he was backing up as Conor's coming at him and he's stopping to return verbal warfare. I don't know if I'm buying it. I mean, I bring this to you, by the way, in a positive spirit of Dustin Poirier, because here's why, guys. There is adjustments that Conor can make, and there is adjustments that for sure he will make if they rematch. Conor has proven that before. He proved that in the Nate Diaz fight, and there is a realness to what Conor is saying of inactivity biting him in the ass. The other side of that coin is that was not a perfect fight by Dustin. There was ground and pound opportunities off of a takedown that was never meant to actually get Conor down, but it did. There was no pass, there was no submission attempt, there was no ground and pound. I mean, I'm only offering you for an example. Dustin did not fight the perfect fight. And if you want to go and look at their rematch, which is likely going to happen, I believe it's down to 2. Is it Dustin versus Conor? Or is it Dustin versus Nate? That rematch trilogy that's very likely to happen, you're not wrong to believe you're going to see a better and more prepared Conor McGregor. You're not wrong, but you would be missing, in spite of Dustin saying everything went well and I was not fighting, I was just fighting this guy in front of me. In spite of all of those words, he wasn't. He wasn't. It's a rewriting of history, just like the business books. But he just might be next time. Now that he knows that he can do this, now that he, not a confidence, not my training's been going well, those are all now that he knows for sure I can beat this guy, I don't have to let him bully me. I don't have to let him lead a press conference. I don't have to let him lead anything. I walked out second. He was in the cage waiting for me. That is the promotion and the industry tipping of the hat of who the better guy is, in their opinion. Best guy closes the night. That was Poirier. And Poirier is going to go into that third fight a lot better than he came into this one. As well as he thinks he performed, and he did. I'm just sharing with you. There is takeaways for Dustin as well. It was not a perfect fight for Dustin either. Major improvements from the first one to the second one by Dustin. I think you'd be very naive to not believe that Dustin is going to make very big improvements from the second one to the third one. Conor might as well. But don't miss that side of the story, or it's going to be as though you missed the fight.